There was a Jewish guy on the BBC again that I saw. I can't remember what his name was, and he was being interviewed. He's in his 90s or something. He was being interviewed, and he was saying, "Oh, well, when I first came to England, it was like a magical fairy tale. This is a beautiful place. It was incredible. I've never seen anywhere like it." And the interview was like, "Oh, what do you think of England now?" So it's not the same place. It's not the same place, and because it's not the same place, we used to have an England that was a lot more like Tolkien's Shire, rather than the kind of mechanical sort of Saruman-run government that we've got now. And when you allow people to take ownership of their own little space and their own little plot of land, you'll find that actually they do better with it than any government intervention ever will.
There is some aspect as well of the nostalgia and sort of older people looking back and the Midnight in Paris kind of thing.
Things were better in the past. On a social level, things were definitely better in the past.
Would you go and live there if you could?
I would live after the creation of anesthetics. Because, you could fall and break your leg, and man, that would be a painful thing.
When was that?
Oh, the early 20th century. I've seen Victorian hospitals, and they're rough.
Okay, so you'd live like 19? Well, you don't want to be during the Great Depression.
No,
wars.
I mean, the 50s, 60s, and 70s were pretty good.
That's where you'd go
socially, yeah, because it's just you've got just think of your parents and grandparents. Like, they didn't have the kind of intellectual vacuity that we have now, right? And I'm not saying they were smart necessarily or anything like that, but there was a much more warm feeling to the country that's drained away. The country feels a lot more cold and impersonal, right? Your neighbors knew one another, and they would speak to each other on a daily basis, and they would look out for one another, right? That kind of warmth is only possible in a non-ideological society. And this is one of the things that the Eastern Europeans are still struggling with now, that you can see the difference in West Germany and East Germany because of the Soviets' occupation of East Germany. Because what the Soviets would do is essentially destroy every kind of private association that was something like, just a Cub Scouts or something like that, or a bowling club or something like that. And they would have what they call palaces of culture, where everything was centralized and organized by the state. But that means it's all very artificial and robotic, and it's being watched by some administrator from the government. And it's just, that's not good. Whereas in the West, we have much more rich human culture, where it was just, people just being themselves and being free to do what they wanted. And it produced a wonderful place that people would flee the Soviet Union to come to here.
But there were issues around homophobia.
I'm not saying there weren't issues.
Quite big issues. They were big issues. Gay people, that's like one in, how many people? 20 people or something?
That's like 150 people.
Let me check that.
Most people aren't gay.
Well, maybe in this room. What percentage of people are gay? Google will tell me. 3%.
Right. So 97% of people don't have that issue.
Yeah, but that 3%, that is shit. Come on, that is a bit shit. You can't just...
So what should we do?
Not go back to the 50s.
Ooh, I'm not saying we should what did they do to Turing? Did they sterilize him?
It was chemical castration.
Yeah, I'm not saying we should do that. I'm saying we shouldn't do anything to gay people, actually.
Yeah, but if you go back to what I'm saying in my sort of imaginary,
I'm not saying we need to sterilize gay people. What I'm saying is, if we had a more warm and human society, then we would have far fewer of the social problems that we have now. The problems that we have now, because the kind of warmth of society has been drained out. Okay, we've got rights for 3% of the population. Okay, great, but we've got kids stabbing each other now. There's an unintended consequence of that, and it's because we've gone all one way and we've none of the other. It shouldn't be that this is the way. And the thing is, in traditional British culture, there's always been a place for these people as well. There's always been marginal areas in entertainment and things like that, the arts and things like that, for outsiders. And one of the things that the progressive left have done deliberately is to make them the mainstream. What was her name? From margins to, Kimberly Crenshaw's essay was called "From the Margins to the Center" in 1993, which was the one that essentially was the proper codification of intersectionality. So it's mapping the margins and then from the margins to the center. So it's been a conscious attempt to make these people the central focus of society. But the thing is, they're not the central focus of society, right? And it's a hard truth, but gay people cannot produce the next generation, right? So they can't continue our civilization. So if we center them and we make that the dominant paradigm, well, it's the same with childless women now. Like, you've got the Kamala Harris, the abortionist women. It's like, sorry, you're not continuing on society. So you're only here for a very temporary period of time. Your priorities are not the priorities of the majority.
For the future.
Not just for the future, but for now, right? Because, like, it's crazy how non-child friendly the world is at the moment. Like, when I was growing up, like, McDonald's used to have kids' plays areas and stuff like this, right? You don't get that now. McDonald's looks like it's a Soviet building now.
I haven't been in one for years.
Look at McDonald's next time you walk past it.
Play areas,
right? Exactly, because it was a civilization that expected to be. It was curating itself for the future, and that just doesn't exist anymore. We've turned into a very much sort of now civilization, which is not good. We should have a family-friendly civilization where kids are essentially the centerpiece of public life, because like it wasn't like
to
McDonald's.
Encourage people to have more kids.
Well, it's not. Well, yeah, not just to encourage them, but to be that more human civilization. Because I tell you what, there's one thing you're not going to be, it's rational with your kids. Like, kids, they do a lot of things, and very, very little of it is well thought out. But yeah, it's not that these people. I'm not saying we should persecute anyone or anything like that. But there's a way of living that is not this kind of cold, thin, ideological, propositional way of doing things, which is how we've arrived at Keir Starmer ruining the country and being evil. He's 100% purely propositional, and it's not good.